Good morning and welcome to our Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, 9 a.m. CEO briefing. It is 9:03 and we're getting started. Today we are going to be, our first item is to evaluate qualifications of an applicant for public employment, which is RCW 4230.1101G, which is the reason why we're going to then go into executive session. I'm going to do introductions so everyone will know who's in the room for that executive session. And at this point, we plan the executive session to take us till 10 o'clock. If we extend, we will let you know beyond that, but we will do introductions first. So we have all three county commissioners. I'm going to have us introduced so our guests know as well. I'm County Commissioner Mary Kinney, Chair of the Board.
County Commissioner Josh Kearns.
County Commissioner Al French, good looking one on the board.
Gary, I'm going to have you go ahead.
Sure. Gary Petrovich, Senior Director of Finance and Administration.
And two of you will not be in for executive session. So,
Mark McLean, I'm the Chief Civil Deputy.
Tessa Sheldon, Management and Budget Analyst. And then I'll have the three of you introduce yourselves. And
hi, Stacy Crawshaw Lewis. Deanna Gregory.
Roy Kogan.
Okay. So those are the people that will be in our executive session. We will now be in executive session until 10 o'clock. Thank you, and we'll be back at 10 o'clock. I believe we will come back after that, just in case there's any other miscellaneous items. We have returned from our executive session. It is now 10:24. We did extend until then. At this point, I don't remember when we were, I think 10:10. So anyway, so we are concluding now for the day. No action is being taken, or we're concluding for the morning, sorry. We will re-adjourn today at 2 o'clock for our consent agenda over in our public hearing room. And we will see you all then. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Oh.
did you want to note the other two in the executive
Oh,
session?
yes. I do want to note that Allison Benj and Jared Webley did attend our executive session, as well as the people that we noted as we went into it. Thank you.
Muted. There we go. So Carrie, if you'd state your name and title for the record, and I will let you do the presentation.
I'm sorry, this is the first time I've been able to hear you since I could see you. So, so this is Carrie Visano. I'm a buyer in the purchase department, and I'm assuming we're talking about our surplus.
Yes, so this is, we're going to have you do the presentation for item number 6A, which is in the matter concerning the proposal to dispose of the certain miscellaneous personal county property by auction, recycling, or destruction.
Okay. Now I'm not prepared because I was like, I can't hear anybody. So hold on 1 second. All right. I can't even give you the project number. So the project, I'm sorry, I don't have the project number either. I'm not prepared.
It's project number P12719.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so project P12719 is a request for the board to declare a surplus those items listed in the attached spreadsheet and authorize their disposition by auction, recycling, or destruction, as specified by the department heads, the various department heads. All the IT items have been approved by the IT director, and after salvaging any usable parts are being recycled. I'm respectfully requesting that you approve these items and their disposition. Are there any questions?
I don't see any questions from us, so then thank you very much. I appreciate that. Then we will I will open the public hearing since this is a public hearing item. If anyone wishes to provide testimony that's in person, to please fill out a yellow form. All new to use these yellow forms again. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand function or press *9. So I will open the public hearing. First call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6A.
I just like, I couldn't hear or understand a word she said. It's really just came up muffled over here. May have been good there, but over here it's just muffled.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know. We will look at that as we move forward with the other ones. Maybe Jared will have you kind of just listen from the back. Oh, very good. We have our IT department up there listening, so appreciate the feedback. Second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6A. Again, use your raise hand function, press *9 or come up. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6A. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move that we accept the recommendation of staff in regard to item 6A in the matter concerning the proposal to dispose of certain miscellaneous personal county property by auction, recycling, or destruction, identified as project number P like in Peter 12719.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to public hearing item 6B in the matter of dividing, altering, combining, or creating new voting precincts within Spokane County, Washington. I believe we have a presentation from Auditor Vicki Dalton and Elections Manager Mike McLaughlin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Once every 10 years across the state, several different agencies and commissions redistrict for the congressional seats and the legislative seats, as well as local districts. And so that is this year. And with that, we need to redraw precincts in order to match up to those new district lines. So Mike McLaughlin, Elections Manager, will take you through the details.
Do you want to pull up the map so they can, the county ones would probably work. So we're proposing changing currently 362 precincts into 438 precincts. By law, we're supposed to look at precinct being wholly within congressional district, legislative district, county commissioner district, in any city or town. That way, then we look at school district boundaries, fire district boundaries, and then other special purpose districts to draw precinct lines on. That will reduce the number of splits that we have, because that's each split in odd years basically is about face. So we can do precincts or more for the even years fully that way. Then the odd years is where those districts come in and we get more splits, and we look to reduce those. We also looked at precincts if they had over 1,000 voters in them, if they were in a growing area, to see if that could be easily split to get that number down, and anything under 500 voters to see if they could be combined with any other precinct. Because they did redraw the legislative lines, some of those precincts that were isolated before were now able to be combined with another precinct to get a manageable election number for that. Is from the redistricting, the legislation line split 8 precincts, and the redistricting for county commissioner split 10 precincts. So we are more into re-precincting than redistricting, which is different criteria. So then we're here to answer any questions, or after the public speaks, we can come back up and answer any if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mike or Vicky at this point? Okay, thank you. And as I look to open the public hearing, we are just taking a public hearing today on these items, and we'll be voting on this at our next Tuesday's 2 o'clock consent agenda meeting. So public hearing 6B in the matter of dividing, altering, combining, or creating new voter precincts within Spokane County, Washington. I am going to open the public hearing. Again, if you would like to use, if you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand function or press *9. And I do have 3 people here in person that are wishing to testify. And I will start with Ruth Ryan, if you would please come up. I can. So then I will start with Toller Brian. And as you come up, if you could please state your name and address for the record. And then we have, each person has 3 minutes. Josh, will you be able to time for me?
Thank you. My name is Toller Brian. I live at 23423 Broken Lance Lane or Drive with the Liberty Lake Post Office, not in Liberty Lake itself. I thank you for the opportunity to speak on this topic. I've worked with Mike McLaughlin, as well as I attended most of the meetings for the legislative district redistricting, as well as the commissioner district stuff. So I've been well involved in the process. But this is the first time I've ever done this. So drawing precinct lines, it's difficult. And it's pretty much of a thankless job. But I thank Mike McLaughlin for the job that he and his staff did and what they have done. I met with them several times during the process, hoping to influence them to consider PCO perspectives. When you think about it, why does a precinct exist? We really don't need them anymore when you really get down to it, because they were voting precincts. And there was a poll. We don't do polls anymore in the state, much to probably the chagrin of a lot of folks. But anyway, but I was particularly concerned about access to areas within a precinct and to consider topographical barriers that exist and communities of interest. And I was hoping that they would do a better job than the State Redistricting Commission did regarding communities of interest. And in some regards, they did. I represent District 9, and I'm a PCO in District 9. So I'm going to limit my comments to the 9th District, and particularly my particular precinct, Precinct 9005. If you look on the map, well, let's see, that's the commissioner districts. We need the draft of the new legislative district maps. Hopefully this isn't counting towards my 3 minutes. That was, okay, if you look in the far upper right of the yellow, that's precinct 9005. If I can point to it here. Whoa, right here. Okay. District 9 grew substantially as a result of the redistricting. We went from 14 precincts to an additional 33 precincts from districts 3, 4, and 6. But we actually grew to a total of 60 with the way that the draft precincts lines are drawn. So there are 50 new precincts in District 9. And most precinct boundaries didn't change, at least not substantially with the draft maps. But there are a few that have some serious issues, and one of them is mine, this Precinct 9005. Overall, it's pretty good, except for that northeast corner. Now, again, I'm going to point to it here. This is most of just Precinct 9005, but this part right here is what I have a problem with. The primary problem I have with that is that there's no way to get from one spot on that precinct to the other. There's no access. I have to go through several different precincts to get to that area. So my proposal is that that area be moved back over to the left a little bit, incorporated in the other precincts that are around Liberty Lake. There's not that many folks that are there. Shouldn't make that much of a difference as far as the population is concerned. Okay, well, I also have a concern with precinct 9008, which is now identified on the western side of the state, but it was part of the southeastern part of the county. And I also have a concern about Valley Ford that's been split, that little township. Even though it's not incorporated, it's split now between 9,046 and 47. And it was previously all within precinct 6,034. So I'm going to defer to Ruth to talk about that specifically a little bit more. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. So next Ruth, do you want to go or do you want me to have Jeffrey Olson? Okay.
I'm Ruth Ryan. I live at 1409 West Paradise Road. My precinct currently is numbered 9002. So I too am in the 9th. However, this is my third census time period to comment about precinct divisions. And Toller is new on our team and he's very enthusiastic. So that's why I'm kind of letting him take the lead. So my packet of maps that I hand drew, they're not professional. They're just my maps with highlighter and red ink. Ask that you look at, 9th district. And I've explained he's explained in detail about that corner and Valley Ford. Valley Ford's been a community over 100 years. Please don't split them up. It's just not cool, Anyway, and then of course in the southeast corner, those precincts have been separated like that for over 20 years. There's a reason. There's a little bit of a conflict that had to go back to old school districts. It's not worn out yet. Another 10 years and it may be okay, but right now, just don't put them in the same thing. The other precincts that I wanted to comment about were up in the new 6th. And one of them is up at Chattaroy. It's the first map. And the Chattaroy area is on Highway 2. The Denison area is over on 395. And so my recommendation is instead of having three strips from Highway 2 to 395 is to divide it more vertically and let the Chattaroy community be its own and the Denison community be its own. And that's, it just makes more common sense for that community. It doesn't add a precinct, it just changes the line. The other area that we've been looking at for quite a while is it's Josh's precinct. We've been trying to figure out how to get the gully out of it. And I made a suggestion here on page 2 to have it go along the fire district line and the old line that was used 20 years ago, which is Shady Slope. And, have it so that the folks over on 395, the Glen Eden and that whole development, it doesn't really fit with the folks over on Highway 2. And that might make another precinct. And then the third map I have is with the very northwest corner of Spokane, that little city limits leg that goes clear out to the North Indian Trail that's up high, 9 Mile Road that's down low. And they're put all in the same 2 precincts, the up high and down low, up high and down low. And you can't get from one to the other. You can see it, but you can't get from one to the other. And my proposal is just make the folks along 9 Mile Road figure out a place to divide it part of the way down the hill and have that group of housing developments be in their own precinct. They'll still be in the city of Spokane. And so my recommendations that I've been emailing back and forth with the elections office, and Mike's been very kind to go back and forth with me. I think I'm affecting 12 precincts on the proposal, and we're adding like maybe 4 or 5. It's not really significant, but it would keep communities together. And I brought all my research data with me. If somebody wants to ask me questions afterwards, I can have that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, I have Jeffrey Olson to testify on item number 6B. And please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Jeffrey D. Olson. I live at 16412 Laurel Drive, Medical Lake. And I have testified at all three state legislative redistricting commissions. And this last one was the best of all. I got to talk more than once. Currently, I'm in 6026. I will be in 9010. And I give a top job to the county auditor's office, Mike McLaughlin. They're doing stuff that should have been done long ago. And that's all I have to say about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have no one else that is here in person to testify. So I'm going to see if there's anybody who has used the raised hand function or press *9 on Zoom. Seeing none. Second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6B. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6B. I will close the public hearing. And we again, as I stated, we will be looking to make a decision on this next week at our 2 o'clock consent agenda. So thank you. I don't know if Mike or the elections manager or the county auditor would like to make any other comments.
We appreciate the people who have spent an incredible amount of time with us on our re-precincting process, but also on the redistricting processes. Very familiar faces and tens, if not hundreds of hours of participation from the folks who have come and talked to you today. I do want to clear up a couple of things. There is a difference between redistricting and re-precincting. Redistricting determines what district you're going to be in, who you can vote for. So when a commissioner district line is moved, it determines which position you're going to be able to vote for. Re-precincting does not change the districts that you're in. Re-precincting is simply about managing elections and trying to ensure that we can identify the districts that you are in and match you to the appropriate ballot face. So even though we're going to have roughly 438 precincts, we're actually going to end up with how many ballot faces by the time it's all said and done?
So it'll increase in even years to more ballot faces, and hopefully in odd years, it'll be less ballot faces.
So that's really why precincts exist. It's really not about having PCOs. That is a consequence of having precincts, is having PCOs, but it's really about managing the election so that we can determine what kind of ballot you should be getting, and then being able to count and control and produce those results. And we're basing that on which districts are shared. So even though it sounds simple to just say, oh, let's just split a few people off and they can be their own little precinct, or try to split precincts up and remerge them, that can really complicate how many more ballot faces we have to have. It's all about the combination of districts. And as a few have alluded to, it is complicated. So here's just a few of the districts that we have to take into account when we're trying to create these precinct lines. So we have, of course, the congressional district. Thank goodness we only have one. Then we have legislative districts, of which we have 5. Then we have the county commissioner districts, of which we have 5. That's the entire county. Then we have cities, and we have 11 cities. School districts. Yeah, okay. We have a lot of school districts. I think we've got 11 fire districts. Then we have water districts, cemetery districts, and other districts. So this is like trying to put together a 3-dimensional puzzle. So that's what we're taking into account when we're creating those precinct lines. It's not as simple as just moving a line. And for precincting criteria, of course, we're looking at those districts. We are also required to have precincts that have no more than 1,500 registered voters in that precinct. And so we do look ahead. So as soon as precincts start reaching between 1,000 and 1,300, we start looking to see if we need to separate those precincts. And we are looking at the permits that are being filed. What does it look like? Is that precinct going to grow sometime in the near future? And we also do this precincting process every 2 years because of the growth. And if you haven't been to the corner of Flora and Indiana and seen all those new apartment complexes going up, this is why we have to keep looking at those building permits and re-precincting every 2 years, because some precincts will be very quickly over that 1,500 maximum. So the other thing that we're running into, why we don't want to have small numbers of people in a single precinct, is because we are getting more public records requests. And if we end up late in the election cycle itself, and we get just one ballot in for a particular precinct and a particular split, there is a possibility that someone with enough work could try to identify that individual voter. So that is another reason that we are trying to keep precincts at above 500 whenever possible. And that's to give the anonymity to the voter that is guaranteed in the state constitution. So just one final thing, precincts don't move you from district to district. Precincts are about just making sure you get the right ballot for those precincts. So anything else you want to add?
No, I think is the precincts where we try designing so they're voting on the same thing. So they're trying to vote on the same school district, same fire district, or not within the whole precinct. It's not voted 3 different fire districts or 4 different school districts. And that's some of that was what we had before, and we eliminated that as much as possible as one of the goals we try making this year.
So we appreciate your consideration, and we appreciate all the effort that people have put into it and who have contacted us and talked to us. So we're always available for questions.
So I just wanted to provide you an opportunity to provide a little bit more clarity. When you're doing precinct boundaries, you're doing it based upon the number of registered voters within the precinct, not the population within the precinct. So you might have one precinct that has a population of maybe 800 and another one that's got a population of 2,000, but it's really the registered voters that you're triggering on. Is that fair?
Yes, that's what the RCWs require, is it's based on the number of active registered voters.
So have you gotten a chance to see this document that was provided by us?
Yes,
Or to us?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, as I look through here, and I get what Auditor Dalton is saying about the purpose of precincts. I don't believe. I mean, just eyeballing these, the areas that I'm more familiar with, I don't think these would shift anybody from one. I mean, so it certainly does not shift congressional, legislative, commissioner, City, school district, I don't think it does. I mean, I'm not as familiar with cemetery districts or water districts, but I don't think any of these would create an issue there. What are your thoughts on these proposals? I mean, these look pretty cut and dry, that these wouldn't create.
Going through individually,
Mhm.
one of them, the one up in the city of Spokane, by splitting it down, there's 138 registered voters in those 3 precincts.
Okay.
2 that would be isolated off in that sliver.
Yes.
That's below our 500 criteria, what we're going for. So there's no changes to those precincts right now.
Mhm.
That's also part of the city of Spokane, and hopefully when they're doing their redistricting, we'll look at those again. But a lot of these changes were creating small pockets. It
Mhm.
was like the 9th ledge with going up around Liberty Lake. So by isolating that, there was like 200 voters in there that lowered the number of voters down by creating another precinct.
Mhm.
And then Valley Ford, we split it, the logical split in that area, it's a growth area, is went along the Palouse Highway. So it was actually a ledge district boundary change. So we combined a precinct there, and then we're able to move it a little bit that way and then combined. So, I mean, the community is still there. It's just split for precinct purposes for on the number of voters. So by creating what they propose, it's creating a box and then a precinct all around it,
Mhm.
which is not, that's not part of re-precincting. If that was a city or town, that would be, it's like looking in the 9th, you at lower 9th, you have
So you got Waverly,
precincts
Fairfield, and
in
Rockford.
in
that are those
9007
situations.
and 9008.
Mhm.
So there's, in that one, there's 3 towns in that
Mhm.
already. So that's already split up that way. In 9008, there's 144 voters. In 9007, there's 273. So we combined those 2 voters.
Okay.
So it's, I mean, that's more, I mean, we can look at it more and be happy to sit down and show you more.
Mhm.
One of the changes up in Chattaroy, there's 2 fire districts, 3 water districts, and the PTBA. So in that area. So that was how we had to draw it, was matching for the precincts for that area.
For the ones off of 395 that were precincts.
6041, 6045.
Oh, you're talking about down there. Oh, no, that's not Chattaroy. That's actually Meade.
Okay.
That would be
I'm
Meade.
just adding up
The
notes.
ones up in Chattaroy that are 3 primarily rural districts where they had talked about, keeping sort of the Denison area versus the Chattaroy populations
Right.
together.
I mean,
and I think that one would actually take away a precinct. Like it would be making 3 into 2.
I think also the split went down one of the roads, so it had voters on the left side and the right side.
Mhm.
We tried looking at that too. So from a PCO point of view, if they're walking down a road, they can hit both sides of the road
Mhm.
with voters. And so, I mean, that's part of it. I have to look at it more. We got it last night and we're able just to briefly look at them this morning. And
Okay. What is our, ballpark, I'm not expecting a specific number, of all and I believe the number you gave us yesterday, 438 new precincts, what is the lowest number of voters in a precinct? Out of those 438, how many is the lowest amount in a precinct?
I think it
Roughly.
was like less than 100.
Okay.
And that was the Kaiser Meade area.
Okay. So we do have some that are
Right. And
quite low.
But that's the most of our, we want to get up in that for
Okay.
the public records part.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, every time we have a precinct that's extremely low in active voters, that increases the risk of voters' identification
Mhm.
to their ballot being capable of being identified. I mean, at this point, when we get these public records requests, we're having to go through very slowly and redact so that those votes cannot be tied to an individual voter. So while we may end up with a few precincts that are small, we want to have as few of those as possible. Just because we have some doesn't mean that's what we want for the entire county. It's because we're in a situation where we're kind of stuck having to have a precinct that has a low number of registered voters in it.
And that's part of why you hold back a couple dozen ballots every election, is to help so people don't know who's voting if you get some straggling
And the
ballots that
more-
come in.
Yes, and the more small precincts we have, that means we're going to be holding more and more and more ballots back that can't be tabulated until the last day. And then we're still risking the possibility of just a single ballot having come in from that precinct.
So that even within a precinct, if it gets small and then there's splits still within that, that's a smaller subgroup of that number. So we're getting smaller and smaller. And that's what we're trying to get those numbers as big as possible too, is splits, and then get into the precinct.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we have multiple ways to kind of prevent that, to work with. But can I ask for you guys to please evaluate these that were provided to us, and I mean, maybe even if you just send us an email before our Tuesday hearing on sort of yes or no, or why not, for each of these, just so we have something to evaluate on those. So, because if you say you just got these yesterday, I mean, that's not a heck of a lot of time to evaluate. So I'll give you some grace there. But yeah, if you could evaluate these over the next week and let us know before Tuesday on sort of why they will or will not work, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I would actually add that hopefully by Friday at noon, so that way then Gina has what would be the final maps to be presenting to the public as to be voting on Tuesday. That would be great. Thank you very much. Okay, and I will just say yes, thank you. I think the elections office has done a tremendous job with having to figure out adding precincts and figuring out how we're doing it based on the state redistricting and the county redistricting. It was not an easy process. And so I appreciate all the kind comments from our citizens as well that, understand the role that they play. So with that, then that takes us to item number 6C on today's agenda, which is in the matter of declaring surplus and considering the sale of certain county-owned property, portion of assessor's parcel number 36056.9003, Old Corral Shop Pit number 63-05. And Deborah, I'll let you state your name and title for the record.
Hi, Deborah Firkins with the Public Works Department. I'm an engineer. Considering, and can you switch it to the map, please? Thank you. Considering declaring surplus and the sale of a portion of assessor's parcel number 36056.9003, located at 12807 North Mayfair Road. Spokane County had owned a gravel pit and a county shop located in the southwest quarter of Section 6 and the southwest quarter of Section 5, Township 26 North, Range 43 East, Willamette Meridian. Parcel numbers 36056.9002 and 36056.9003. And that's that larger portion of the map here. That was our county pit. In 1979, Spokane County acquired from the Department of Transportation its old pit site for $82,190. Through the years, the county has sold off portions of this property. In 2010, to Meade School District for $360,000. In 2011, a steep portion of the property to Inland Mill Road LLC for $31,000. The majority of the site was retained for our new county shop and decamp facility and the communications tower that existed. The county sold the parcel 36056.9003 on November 10th, 2020 for $2,500,000 with heavy development restrictions to Tampion Enterprises, now LRE4 LLC. And that's that larger area I showed before. The property we are surplusing today is approximately 2 acres and was used by the county for a communications tower for the sheriff and the Environmental Services Division for a communications relay tower. The property is no longer needed for that use. The county was approached by LRE4 LLC about the possibility of purchasing these 2 acres. The Public Works Department does not use this area and would have to maintain it, increasing its costs. After the 40.7 acres to the east are developed, this area could not be sold to an adjoining property owner. For the development, since it would, after we sold that 40.7 acres to the east, and after it's developed, there would be no access to that 2-acre piece that we're trying to sell for property development, and it would be landlocked, and the slopes could only be sold to an adjacent property owner. The county has received an offer from LRE4 LLC and its assigns for $91,800 contingent on a clean title report, with the buyer paying the aggregation fees and all the closing costs, the recording of the deed and the title insurance, and closing on April 26, 2022. The buyer has shared a vision for the site, which includes the possibility of 3 home sites with a turnaround for emergency access vehicles, since they may not have access through our county shop. The buyer has shared, notice for this public hearing authorized under Resolution 22-0198 adhered to RCW 36.34.090 and RCW 36.34.100, posting in the county courthouse and posting twice in a public newspaper, with the first posting at least 10 days before this hearing. The Public Works Department recommends that the Board of County Commissioners surplus a portion of parcel number 36056.9003, the old county shop, from county use. The Public Works Department also recommends that LRE4 LLC's offer for $91,800 be accepted by the board. The board will now take public testimony for and against the advisability of surplusing of this property to the county's use, and will consider whether or not to accept the written offer by LRE4 LLC for $91,800, contingent on a clean title report, with the buyer paying the aggregation fees, all closing costs, and the recording of the deed and title insurance, and closing on April 26, 2022, or any oral offer made from the floor by an adjoining property owner at this public hearing. Any oral offer must confirm that they are indeed an adjoining property owner, and also agree to pay all the aggregation fees, all closing costs, and the recording of the deed and the title insurance, and state any and all contingencies and their closing date attached to this offer. The current offer of $91,800 includes a $2,000 earnest money contingent on the acceptable title report. All offers, written or oral, must be reduced to writing on the required county form. No offer will be considered which contains a real estate commission to be paid by the county. If the board receives any oral offers from the floor during this public hearing in an amount greater than the highest written offer, or in this case, the $91,800, then the oral offers shall be reduced to writing and submitted on the required county form to the Spokane County Engineer's Office by 3:30 p.m. tomorrow to be considered a valid offer. If no additional written or oral offers are received at this public hearing, the board at its sole discretion may accept the written offer received. If the highest offer at the public hearing is an oral offer, the board shall continue the matter to the next meeting of the board to make a decision on all the offers presented. If the highest offer is an oral offer and is not reduced to writing, as described above, the board, with the agreement of the next highest oral bid reduced to writing, may accept the next highest bidder's offer. Any offer made today must be turned in to Deborah Firkins, me, before 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. The board will first accept testimony on the advisability of surplusing this property. And I guess that should have been you saying that, so. Do you have any questions for me before I?
Yes, Ms. Firkins, do you have access to a pointer or something where you can point to the specific parcel that is in question with regard to the sale right now?
It's the one in red.
The one in red. Thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that people weren't thinking we're selling the big parcel in the middle of the map. We're actually only selling that parcel to the northwest. Yeah, right there. Thank you.
That one.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to see, I do have a second map that shows how steep that area is, if you'd like to see that as well. And you can see that there are a lot of sloping around there.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the property. It's mountain goats. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
No. Thank you very much for that presentation. I appreciate it. Okay, so this is a public hearing for item number 6C. The board will first accept testimony on the advisability of surplusing this property. So I will see if anyone wishes to testify on item number 6C. Please raise your hand if you're on Zoom, or *9 to unmute yourself. I do not see anyone here in the audience testifying. Second call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6C. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 6C. Seeing none, I will close the public testimony. So I'm closing the public testimony on surplusing the property. I will take a vote from my fellow commissioners on surplusing the property as described by Deborah Firkins with Public Works.
Madam Chair, I would move that in the matter of that we accept the recommendation from county road engineer and county staff in the matter of declaring surplus and considering the sale of certain county-owned property portion of assessor's parcel number 36056.9003, identified as Old Corral Shop Pit number 63-05.
I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. So then at this time, the board will now.
Commissioner Kane, I think we need to vote.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we get to throw our vote in here.
Sorry. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Sorry, I'm preoccupied with all the other things that we have going on here, Deborah. So now the board will now receive oral bids from adjoining property owners wishing to purchase this landlocked piece of property in excess of $91,800, paying all aggregation fees, all closing costs, and the recording of the deed and title insurance. They must also state any other contingencies that they may have and their closing date attached to their offer. I am looking around. I am seeing nobody come to the podium, and I'm seeing no one online. So seeing no bids, then I think we get to vote on
The offer in hand.
the offer in hand. Oh, do I need to?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Doesn't state that here for me. So, okay, that's okay. So, so basically it's a second public hearing then on, it's
No, after you close the bidding process, then you can make a decision on the offer that you have in hand. If
So-
you had other offers on the floor, we would have continued it to the next hearing.
okay. So this,
I think in the three things, it's just, I apologize, thank you. It's for the audience in the internet,
In
so
the
that they
internet.
make sure that they raise their hand and that sort of thing.
correct. Thank you. And so this is just for the, if there's any other bids for the property. So second call for any other bids for this property. Third and final call for any other bids for this property. Now seeing none, I will look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move that we accept the offer from
LRE4 LLC.
from them
Yes.
as presented by staff this afternoon.
I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will conclude our meeting, our 2:00 consent agenda. We are going to be continuing, we're going to sign some documents. We're going to be continuing our meeting over in our conference room where we will have a executive session that is going to be evaluating the qualifications of an applicant for public employment, RCW 42.30.1101G. And we plan for that to go until 4:00. So thank you all very much for being here. We will adjourn and reconvene at 3:00 in our conference room. Okay, thank you and welcome back. It is now 3:04. We finished our 2:00 consent agenda, signed some papers, and we're back in our conference room to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment, RCW 42.30.1101G. We plan to be in executive session till 4:00. We will just in a minute go around the room. If we extend, we will let the clerk of the board know because we will be adjourning after the meeting is over. We do not anticipate any action to be taken. So with that, I'm going to have us go around the room and just state our name. It'll be all three commissioners. I'm going to start here and have you go around and state your name and title for the record.
Gary Petrovich, Senior Director of Finance and Administration.
Tessa Sheldon, Management and Budget Analyst.
The three commissioners.
Christine Reynolds, Partner, Orrick, Harrington and Sutcliffe.
And Greg Blunt, partner at Orrick, Harrington. I'm Mark McLean, I'm the Chief Civil Deputy.
Roy Cogan.
Do we anticipate, and Jared Webley will be in the executive session. Is there anyone else who's on Zoom that will be in executive session with us?
Yes, there should be 3 of our colleagues from Orrick also on the line.
Okay.
Don't see them. But this is the webinar link, not the executive session link.
They may have only been
Oh,
provided the executive session
Okay.
links. They-
Yes.
Would you be able to just state their name for the executive session?
Sure, it's Doug Go, John Stanley, and Les Prusen.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, so those will be the people that will be in executive session. We will start in just as soon as we can in 2 minutes, and then we will go until 4:00. And again, we will adjourn at that point in time, anticipating no other action. Thank you.